Awesome. Here we go. There we go. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So today we're talking about patriotism. Hooray, America.
Woo!
So different people within the left have different views on patriotism and nationalism. Some leftists, like the patriotic socialists, Pat Socks, they're advocating for extreme nationalism. Some people argue against patriotism, um, especially within the theory that the United States is illegitimate, and so therefore we should eschew patriotism altogether. Some people fall somewhere in the middle of that. Um, and of course, this is going to be different in different countries. Through the lens of dialectical materialism, we can see patriotism can have different forms, different characteristics in different places, at different points in history, and when taken up by different classes. So we're going to be talking about some of those differences and the different ways that patriotism can exist today. I want to start off with a quote about that from Indian communist M.N. Roy. This is from a letter. Um, he said, although in a given historical epoch, patriots possess a revolutionary significance, this does not hold true of them at all times and under every circumstance. And then he gives some example of different patriots, people who you could call patriots. I'll just list a few of them. He lists Mussolini, the American Ku Klux Klan, Gandhi, and he says, and all these different people are patriots, but imagine what a gulf divides these men one from the other and what divergent ideals each of them represents. Patriotism, therefore, is a very misleading term, which often possesses a very sinister significance. So, first, the ugly. I just wanted to show some images of patriotism in action. First here, we've got the American military recruitment kind of patriotism, the hoorah, let's go wave the flag and kill people in other countries for their oil. We got that kind of patriotism. As was mentioned by Roy, we've got the Ku Klux Klan kind of patriotism. That's definitely still a problem in America today with the white people are better than everyone else. America, that kind of patriotism. Then we got this kind of patriotism, which is just funny to me. Right. So let's talk about the bad side of patriotism. To kind of set up, I have a couple of quotes here. The first is from Friedrich Engels. He says, no nation can be free if it opposes other nations. And then Karl Marx said, the nation that oppresses another nation forges its own chains. And expanding on that, this is a quote from Chinese communist Liu Shaoqi. And he said, at home, the bourgeoisie subordinates the interests of the nation as a whole to its own class interests. It places its class interests or the interest of a certain top stratum of society above the interests of the whole people. Moreover, it tries to monopolize the concept of the nation, posing as the spokesman of the nation and the defender of national interest in order to deceive the people. And I think we see that in modern times, how the bourgeoisie uses, especially in the United States, the concept of American patriotism to oppose questioning the system. You need to have, undying loyalty to the American system. You don't need to think about changing anything. You need to go to work hard, don't complain, and that's how the bourgeoisie can weaponize patriotism. And then it continues abroad at the same time, it counterposes the interest of its own nation, in essence, of its bourgeois top stratum, to the interests of other nations. The bourgeoisie strives to place its own nation above other nations and, whenever possible, to oppress and exploit other nations, completely disregarding their interests. It uses part of the loot gathered abroad to buy off certain groups of the population within its country in order to weaken and split the resistance of the people in its homeland. And we see that also in modern America, how the bourgeoisie gets Americans to blame people in other nations for their problems. Like it's the like right now with TikTok, it's the Chinese Communist Party that owns TikTok somehow, and that's the cause of your problems. We got to ban TikTok. Or oh look, it's the immigrants coming across the border to take your jobs. That's the cause of your problems, and they can use this bourgeois American nationalism to distract from the real issues that are going on in our country. Any questions so far? Okay, then I'll keep going. This is another quote from you. Um, this is kind of transitioning to the good sides of patriotism. And he talks about here how you have to consider patriotism in its historical setting. He says Marxism-Leninism considers all questions in their historical settings. Marxism-Leninists view bourgeois nationalism under the given historical conditions. Drawing a distinction between its different objective roles, they decide what different attitudes the proletariat should take toward it. In the early period of capitalism, the national movement led by the bourgeoisie had as its objective the struggle against oppression by other nations and the creation of a national state. This national movement was historically progressive, and the proletariat supported it. In the present period, such bourgeois nationalism still exists in the colonial and semi-colonial countries. This variety of nationalism also has a certain progressive historical significance. So I would argue there is an example that all independence movements have been progressive in nature, um, throwing off the chains of colonialism, uniting a people together to break off feudal aristocratic structures and to build industry. These are all things that have progressed society forward. So there definitely have been historical roles for bourgeois nationalism when it was a good thing. I would argue that the French Revolution, the American Revolution were examples of this, despite their flaws. I would also argue that in modern times, colonized nations, as they struggle for independence, such as independence movements in Palestine and movements in, like for Haiti, for example, to throw off neo-colonial ties of exploitation. This kind of nationalism led by their national bourgeoisie are progressive things that are overall good for the working classes in those countries. Okay, so let's talk about the good side of patriotism. This is a quote from Lenin talking about Russian patriotism in the early 1900s. He said, "Is a sense of national pride alien to us, great Russian class conscious proletarians? Certainly not. We love our language and our country, and we are doing our very utmost to raise her toiling masses, i.e., 9/10 of her population, to the level of a democratic and socialist consciousness. To us, it is most painful to see and feel the outrages, the oppression, and the humiliation our fair country suffers at the hands of the Tsar's butchers, the nobles, and the capitalists. We take pride in the resistance to these outrages put up from our midst, from the great Russians." And then this is another quote from you. He said, "Guided by the proletarian internationalist concept of the nation and by its program and policy in dealing with the national question, the communists must be the most determined, most reliable, and most capable leaders of the movement for the national liberation and independence of all oppressed nations. They must be the most determined defenders of the legitimate interests of their own people, aid unconditionally the liberation movement of all oppressed nations the world over. They cannot pursue a policy of aggression against any other nation or a policy of oppressing the national minorities within their own country." So, from these two quotes are examples of how um, patriotism can be done positively. Patriotism, if it means a love for the people, a love for your country in order to help the people of your country, an international proletarianism where you love the people of the world and want to end imperialism. These are all positive forms of patriotic sentiment. So, in conclusion, bourgeois nationalism can be progressive in colonized nations as they struggle for independence. But bourgeois nationalism is anti progressive in imperial core countries such as the United States. In modern America, the bourgeoisie is using patriotic sentiments to deceive the working masses and to keep us under their control, to keep us distracted from breaking down the capitalist system. So, revolutionary proletarian patriots should be inspired by love for their country and love for the people in their country and struggle to end all forms of exploitation and oppression, both at home and abroad. So, whether you're being inspired by love for your people or hatred for the bourgeois system, members of the working class have to unite together to accomplish our shared goal of ending capitalism and imperialism and building a socialist society. Okay, that's it.
Nice, nice.
Any thoughts? Any questions?
Um, so what category would you put like misguided, like average working American patriotism?
I would say, who said it? Was that Gramsci's theory of like the bourgeoisie kind of controls the culture, and like but the bourgeoisie pushes their culture onto the working class. So I'd say that that's inorganic. Mostly that's inorganic bourgeois nationalism. Like they've been fed that through commercials on the TV. They see military recruiting commercials. They see military recruiters coming to their high school whenever they're in school. Uh, they've been fed over and over through the years that they need to love their country and everybody's out to get them except for the white people in America. And so we got to fight for the white race or whatever. And so they've been fed this false patriotism. But it's a mix, right? Like it's not totally that because there could be genuine love for the people, love for their neighbors and their communities. A lot of people that are really patriotic really care about their communities, especially if they're from small towns. They care about their neighborhood. They know a lot of people in their community, and they've been fed these lies by the bourgeoisie that uh, the communists or the brown people or whoever scary person of the day is coming to destroy their community. And so we need to be there to educate them and tell them, no, the people that are trying to destroy your community are the people who are directly taking all your resources and making you poor. That's the capitalists. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're communist. We're not scary. We're on your team. We're not trying to take stuff from you. We're trying to make you better off.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Do you have like a modern example of good patriotism or proletarian patriotism?
Um, I would say like Hamas, for example. Well, that's probably bourgeois patriotism, maybe national liberation. But there's a mix there with
Yeah, I
like
mean
the
they're tied
Palestinians.
into. I mean they're tied into uh, religion at the end of the day. I mean, there's definitely like I mean like the
It's probably a better example of like bourgeois nationalism using to people to like free themselves.
that makes sense.
But I wouldn't say everybody's like that. Like they definitely have a strong communist party there that's from more proletarian character. Would be another good example. I'd say North Korea is a good example of going really hardcore proletarian patriotism. I mean, they're very patriotic.
Mhm.
They do all this stuff for love of country and love of their party. But they're not doing it in a way. They're not doing it like a bourgeois way of, oh, we need to kill everybody else and take their resources and stuff because we're better than them. They're doing it as we want to defend ourselves and we want to be safe and happy as a people. So
Mhm.
I think that would be considered a proletarian character.
Yeah, I guess a lot of modern countries fighting towards a socialism don't have a lot of time to engage in patriotic activities. They're like fighting against corruption and all that, coups and such. I don't know. I guess I've just been so like I've been like alienated. Like not I've been like I don't understand patriotism as much as I used to. I don't know. Nothing's real. Woo.
And that's why I think like the essential of like the essentials of patriotism are like proletarian patriotism is about loving your people and fighting for your people, right? And building internationalism instead of instead of us versus them, where them is everyone else except capitalists, which is what our bourgeoisie wants. I personally really don't care if people like really love flying American flags or whatever. I mean, I guess I kind of care because I don't really like the American flag very much because like I know what it means to people all over the world and how oppressive it's been. But dude, if you really want to fly your American flag and like drink a bunch of beer on the 4th of July and shoot off some fireworks and catch your pants on fire, great. I mean, you do you, be happy. As long as you're out in your community and like trying to help them build working class power and fight back against the capitalists, whatever. And I think we need to tailor our message to the communities because like a lot of people in the United States have been fed the false thing that communists hate everybody. Like we're trying to destroy the world, right? And like, no, 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 no. We're trying to save the world. And that's the message we need to get out to people. So whether that's yeah, it is going to depend on the community. Like there are communities, especially minority communities in the United States, that do hate America. And that is the messaging we need to give them. Like, yeah, the American system sucks. We should change it. And some communities are like, yeah, I love America. And like, okay, well, what do you love about America? Well, I love hamburgers and pickup trucks. And it's like, cool, whatever. I love my community. Great. Those are great things to love about America. You should also join us to overthrow the system, though, because the American system is bad. And maybe we'll work on reducing the emissions from your pickup truck, but that's a later problem. You're
So,
muted.
all right. What did I have? I had it written down. So, do you think it'd be better to just dispel of patriotism altogether? Just to, well, wouldn't that get us closer, get us to a better foundation for creating communism, for getting rid of patriotism beforehand, um, instead of like after.
I think patriotism is a tool that we can use in our tool belt. Um, so I think if we try to just totally like go anti-America, death to America, patriotism is bad, we should not be patriotic at all. We're going to alienate a lot of the working class that likes patriotism, especially the white working class. And so that's a risk you're taking if you do that. I think it's better to use it as a tool to be flexible about it. Um, we can all go. Um, you know, America's great. It'd be better under socialism. We can go that route with like some people, and then we can go America sucks. We need socialism with other people. Um, but more so than just the surface level of like whether you like America or not. I think most people that are patriotic, their root issue is that they love the people in their communities. And whenever we say we don't like America, that can they can think that means that we don't like their community or we want to destroy their community. And that's not what we mean. We're saying we want to destroy the American capitalist system. So we need to just make sure, I guess, we're clear with people whenever we're talking to people, especially people that are patriotic, that we don't like hate them. We're not coming to like burn their house down. We're coming to, help them have power in their workplace, have help have give them democratic power over the means of production, right? But yeah, I guess eventually we will want to get rid of patriotism. In a communist society of the future, right? We wouldn't have any nations at all. We would all be just the human people. Um, but I think for now, patriotism is a useful tool. The bourgeoisie is already pushing patriotism on people, and they're throwing the American flags on the screen in the car commercials and in the military recruiting commercials and everything. So I think we might as well use it as a tool to try to get people on our side. We don't have to encourage like toxic patriotism, but we can fuel that energy into a more progressive, productive um, direction. I hope.
Okay, so let's do a little thought experiment. All right, so the people we work with at the Ella, um, let's try to think about how they would think about a patriotic message versus um an unpatriotic message.
Mhm.
Um, so what do you think they would feel about either or?
Are you asking everyone, or are you asking me?
Just everyone. Like personally, like I don't know. I didn't see any like American flags over there or anything. But I did see like football memorabilia.
Mhm.
Um, so I know those two are tied together. But I kind of expect like maybe a little bit of apathy towards the subject. Like kind of like fence sitting, I guess would be the term. Um, so at that point, uh patriotism would just be like what would patriotism's role play then? Like if it were just a situation where it was fence sitters and patriotism was more of an option rather than a necessity. Like what would you say then? What would you say your strategy would be then, Chris, I guess.
Think, yeah, I think that's a good thought. Yeah, I think probably the people in that situation are mostly apathetic. They really don't care either way. And so in that case, we would want to use like the fundamentals of patriotism, right? Like we're not talking about American flags or burning American flags, not either way. We're just talking about like, hey, we're trying to build up your community, right? We care about the people. We're trying to build up the people's power and talking about, how we're going to make their community better, but we can only do it if they join with us. And I think that's the root of like what Lenin was talking about. What was that quote that he had? Yeah, he says like his talking about national pride. He says we love our language and our country, and we're doing our utmost to raise her toiling masses to the level of democratic and socialist consciousness. It's painful to see the outrages, oppression, and the humiliation our fair country suffers at the hands of the czar's butchers, the nobles, and the capitalists. So yeah, I think that's the main core that we need to be focused on with most people, right? Is that we're trying to help build your community. We're trying to help, you have the power to change your community. We're going to help you learn how to do that. Um, but we may find some differences there with different people. There might be a guy there that's a veteran or whatever that maybe still really loves America or whatever. And we'll have to clarify with him, like, no, we don't hate America. We're not trying to destroy your community. We hate the American capitalist system. And that's what we're trying to bring down and make life better for you.
Right.
And we might have the other extreme, like I do know people in the community that are very anti-America. America's built on slavery and it's evil, and yeah, they're also right. And we can also talk with them about, yeah, we want to change America. America is built on these bourgeois liberal ideals that they claim to be about freedom, but it's hypocritical. And we need to change that system.
So what are some what is would you have any advice for like combating toxic patriotism, like stopping
Mm.
um tolerable patriotism from becoming toxic patriotism?
Um, I mean, I don't know for one, because people are stubborn. You're gonna talk to people, and they're not always gonna want to listen to you. I can't say that I've converted a whole bunch of people and DSA is swollen in ranks. But what we can try to do is point out that if they've been given this toxic American patriotism of like, oh, the people in the Middle East are the bad ones, the terrorists, they're coming to get us, or the people from Central and South America are coming to steal our jobs. And just pointing them out with facts, like showing them, no, like who is hurting you in your life? Like has a terrorist from the Middle East come and shot your family? No, of course not. Ha- has somebody actually taken it come to move to the United States and taken your job away? No. It's your boss, right? And probably his boss. It's some capitalist at the top of your business that's taking all your money. And it's the undemocratic system where you're always frustrated with politics. You feel like the politicians never really represent you. Well, that's how the system's supposed to work. They represent the rich people. And yeah, you're not going to get anything to change in this country as long as we keep moving with this system. So if you really care about your community and you want to actually have voice in how the politics works, you're going to have to change things. And I'm hoping people are receptive to that message. Um, but some people aren't. Some people are very stuck in the. I know Tony and I have talked to some people at like tabling before that have been very stuck in the petty bourgeois mindset of like, well, fair pay for fair day's work, and I get fair pay, and that's fine. And like, okay, yeah, you can keep. I mean, if you want to stay broke and poor, that's fine. But I would like you to not be broke and poor.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, if we throw away like the all the possibilities of a stubborn human, I think the a realistic first idea would be like a media a media literacy class, or like an online like fact checking class or something, because like I see a lot of times tolerable patriotism pipeline into radicalization through the like through the internet and like fake news and stuff, you know. So like if we could at the very least give them like some media literacy.
Exactly. I don't know how we would get people to come to that, but I like that idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
we do
no.
need. Yeah, I think that's purposely done. Like in our schools, we don't have very much. Like I guess the best kind of media literacy you get is in your English class. You get some, right? But other than that, there's not very much media literacy or critical thinking or like logic or any of those kinds of ideas that's taught in school. Yeah, you get a little bit in English class, but that's it. And I do think a lot of Americans are lacking in those critical thinking skills.
Um, Another thing I'd be worried about is patriotism being used as a method of control. Uh, Patriotism could be like one of those things, like religion, like that movie we saw recently.
Yeah, I feel like we just watched a movie about that. Well, ultimately, I think, well, it's like, I guess it's the rhetoric, right? It's like, are we fighting for the people or for our people, you know?
Yeah.
I think I guess I guess is there a way to untie patriotism from like the nation state and just solely attribute it to the group of people around you? Or is it always gonna like inherently be tied to the nation state concept? Can't hear you.
I was just saying, I don't know. I'm just thinking that pretty much every socialist country has used patriotism as a means of control for the people.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's a debate.
North Korea is a great example, but I mean that the other socialist countries have also done that. It's not like they like tore down all their flags and like, oh, we're gonna go totally unbranded and we're not gonna have a state anymore. No, no, don't love your state. Don't, don't fly the national flag. Don't do anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess patriotism should be organic, right? It should arise from like the masses,
Yeah,
not from like the government.
yeah. And if you have a really democratic, you know, proletarian government running things where, the elect where the representatives are democratically elected, then whenever they do propaganda, I mean, it's coming from the people, right? Because the people chose those people to produce the propaganda. So
Hmm.
I don't think that's as problematic. Whereas the US version, where we're controlled by the rich who decide who gets elected and they make the propaganda, um, the bourgeoisie gets to pick what propaganda gets sent out. And you see the difference in the propaganda. Like in socialist countries, like the military propaganda is we need to defend our country, whereas the US propaganda is we need to defend our country by invading all these other countries. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, was there anything else?
You got anything else, Chris?
No, I don't have anything else.
I had to go pick up a book from the center, the Islamic Center at 8.
I'm about to head over there to
Oh
pick
yeah.
up a book. Yeah,
Yeah, cool. I'll see you there then probably.
probably. Okay. Well, I thought this was a good discussion.
Yeah, and it was good. You did good.
Yeah. It was a good presentation. Well, uh I'm gonna sign off. Are we all good here?
Yeah, that works. Y'all have a good night, guys.
Yeah, I do too.
Or see ya.